And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm going to share with you the Lexus repair, and we had a couple of inquiries recently as to the rest of the story with this Lexus. Remember, this was a 2015 LS 430 luxury four-door sedan Lexus with 15,000 miles that had been leading or pulling to the right, more leading to the right than pulling to the right. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you drove the car for 3 or 4 miles, 5 miles, you might not even notice the fact that it favors the right all the time. But if you drove it for, say, a trip say a trip from Florida to Atlanta, a couple 300 miles. After about 100 miles on the highway, you'd notice that you constantly have to hold it to the left because it constantly likes and favors the right. And granted, the roads that we drive on are arched in such a way and curved in such a way to drain water that they will make a car pull to the right, and that's why cars are manufactured and aligned with a little bit of left pull in them to offset that highway pull. And to that end, if you're on the interstate and you're on the right lane of a 4-lane highway, of your 2-lane rather, and the car will go straight. If you get over to the left-hand side, all the way to the left near the median, then what you'll see is the car will tend to pull to the left. Well, this car always favored the right, no matter where you put it. And it came to us after it had been to Lexus for several times. And we replaced tires on it. That was at the owner's suggestion, because after moving the tires around, we knew it wasn't the tires, but we did that. And I'll make a long story short. Ultimately, we could not make this alignment come into what I call a correction. And the correction meant that the right front wheel had to be, and always in all cars, has to be in front of the left front wheel. And it's called caster. And it's degrees of caster. Well, this car never would, we could, no matter what we did. And of course, it was not adjustable. So what we did was we loosened the 4 major bolts that hold the engine cradle and the suspension and the transmission, the whole 9 yards. And you've seen it when they make cars, they bring the body down and lower it over the chassis. Well, this is the lower chassis cradle. So we loosened that and we put the right side of the cradle all the way forward and the left side of the cradle all the way back. Now, it's not like there are slots for adjustment, but there's room where the bolts go through for the bolts to go through, so there's always room, some tolerance there. In this case, there's probably, I don't know, maybe 90 thousandths of tolerance, which is a lot, and especially when you push the right all the way forward and the left all the way back. So that was what we did. Didn't fix the car. So the owner then took it back to Lexus and said, I'm going to give it back to you, or I want you to fix it. And Lexus is a great car, one of my favorites, for sure. And so the dealer said, well, the first thing we have to do, and they brought in the factory representative after some 2.5 months. And the factory says, the dealer says, the first thing we have to do is put this chassis back straight and then adjust it and what have you. So ultimately, when the owner got the car and was returned to the owner, they had replaced the right upright, the right spindle, $1,000 part that holds where the ball joints attach to the left top and the bottom of the car, and also where that wheel is located, the right front spindle. And but first, before they did that, they had to go through their body shop and their alignment and put the chassis back. Well, lo and behold, when the owner called me to give me the update, or I called him to inquire, the car was brought into my shop, and I wanted to see it and drive it, and he was courteous enough to do that, and I did, and sure enough, it was fixed. It doesn't pull to the right any longer. It doesn't lead to the right. It drives perfect. And the chassis is still all the way to the right and all the way to the left. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me that the manufacturer's rep left the chassis where we had put the chassis. Now, we're an independent service shop. We didn't make that car. Now, this tells me that that particular automobile has some frame, some chassis, some body problem somewhere. And I think it's ironic that, and he said, well, that they replaced the upright and that fixed the car. Well, if that were the case, then the subframe would be back into its original location. And I marked with a magic marker each location of each side of the vehicle. And I have pictures of that. It's very interesting. If you like the more info, you can go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis. And by the way, when you're there, give us a 5-star review if you like this program. But it's very interesting. So that's my update on the Lexus. Sorry to be so long, but just let you know that I'm very proud of my team for finding and for adjusting that part of the automobile which is required to correct whatever was a problem from that automobile from its manufacturing origination. Now let's go to Nebraska and talk with Blaine. Blaine, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Connect. Thank you for holding.